Hello Mila, hello Jack. Hello everybody else who's watching. Welcome to Storytime with Grandad. Today's story is Grandpa Mudcake and the Rickety Robot. You may not know this, but Grandpa Mudcake likes to make things. At the bottom of his garden is a shed. Inside the shed he has lots of tools. There are hammers, saws, screwdrivers, nails and lots of bits of metal and wood. Can you guess what Grandpa is making in his shed today? Grandpa is making a robot. He's been making it for a very long time. At last the robot is finished. Grandpa wants to show it to his grandson, little Jimmy. Little Jimmy is coming to stay for the weekend. Suddenly there's a loud knock on the shed door. "Let me in, Grandpa," he shouts. "Wow," gasps little Jimmy when he sees the robot. "What's the robot for?" he asks Grandpa. "The robot's going to help me with lots of jobs," replies Grandpa. "I want to see him move," says little Jimmy excitedly. "First, help me oil his wheels," says Grandpa. Little Jimmy squirts some oil from the oil can onto the robot's wheels. "Good. Now we can test him," says Grandpa. Grandpa carefully carries the robot into the garden. "Grandpa, the robot doesn't have a face," says little Jimmy. "Perhaps you could draw one later and we can glue it on," suggests Grandpa. Grandpa switches the robot on. The robot makes a loud, clunkety noise. Grandpa presses forward on his remote control. Slowly, the robot rattles and squeaks along the grass. Then suddenly, it lurches forwards. "Oh no," shouts little Jimmy. The robot has fallen flat on its face. One arm and a leg have fallen off. "Oh dear," sighs Grandpa. "It's too rickety." "What does rickety mean?" asks little Jimmy. "It means wobbly," replies Grandpa. "Why don't you go in and draw a face for the robot with Grandma," says Grandpa. "I need to put the robot back together." Little Jimmy runs into the house. Grandma fetches some paper and pens. Little Jimmy draws a big mouth and some big eyes. By evening, Grandpa has fixed the robot. He helps little Jimmy glue on the robot's face. "He's a red robot now," says little Jimmy. "His name is Robert the Rickety Robot." He laughs. "That's a good name," says Grandpa. "We'll test Robert again tomorrow," he adds. The next day, Grandpa takes Robert into the street. Some people stop by to watch. Grandpa presses forward on the remote control. Slowly, Robert wobbles along the street. Then, with a big lurch, he disappears around the corner. Grandpa desperately tries to turn Robert back. "Oh dear, I think he's fallen over." He panics. But to Grandpa's delight, Robert suddenly reappears and rattles back along the street. Everyone claps and cheers. "Let's see if Robert can carry my golf clubs round the golf course," Grandpa says later that day. Grandpa, little Jimmy, and Robert set off in the car. At the golf course, Grandpa hangs his heavy golf bag over Robert's shoulder. Robert carries the clubs around the whole course without falling over. But his wheels have made huge muddy lines all over the grass. Grandpa is told never to bring his robot to the golf course again. On the way home, Grandpa stops at the DIY store. "I need to buy a new hammer and some glue," he says. "Let's see if Robert can push the shopping trolley." Grandpa helps little Jimmy into the trolley. They all head into the store. At first, Robert pushes the trolley very well. Then suddenly he lurches forward. "Oh, help!" gasps Grandpa. Robert zooms into the gardening section and knocks over 4 flat pot plants and some gardening tools. Grandpa is told never to bring his robot to the DIY store again. Oh dear, says Grandpa to little Jimmy when they arrive home. There must be something Robert can help us with. We'll try again tomorrow, he sighs. Let's see if Robert can cut the grass, says Grandpa the next morning. Grandpa attaches Robert's arms to the lawnmower. Sheena and her cat Derek, who live next door, have come to watch over the garden fence. Robert cuts a long strip of grass very neatly. But just as Robert turns, he lurches forward and crashes into the garden fence. Robert now has a big dent on his head. It's been a tiring weekend testing Robert. After lunch, Grandpa and little Jimmy fall fast asleep. They're woken a bit later by Grandma. Would you like some cake, she calls from the kitchen. Let's see if Robert can fetch the cake, Grandpa says to little Jimmy. Using the remote control, Grandpa directs Robert out of the sitting room along the hall towards the kitchen. Little Jimmy follows Robert into the kitchen. Robert's going to carry the cake, he tells Grandma. I hope he doesn't drop it, she laughs. Grandma places a tray across Robert's arms. On the tray, she puts 2 slices of cake. He's ready, little Jimmy shouts to Grandpa. Grandpa directs Robert back into the sitting room. Robert arrives safely without falling over. Thank you, Robert, smiles Grandpa as he bites into his cake. At least we found a job you can do. It's time for little Jimmy to go home. Can Robert do something funny? He asks Grandpa. Grandpa starts pressing the remote control. Suddenly, Robert's head spins round 3 times. Then Robert bends over, picks up little Jimmy's teddy, and throws it into the air. The teddy lands on top of little Jimmy's head. Little Jimmy and Grandpa laugh out loud. I'll do some more work on Robert, says Grandpa, and next time you visit, he'll be a bit less rickety. Little Jimmy can't wait to see Robert again. The end. Bye-bye, Mila. Bye-bye, Jack. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.